When we look at the Bible, that's how God talks about the future. Now, he does not sugarcoat it. It is very clear in Scripture that, yes, there will be hard things, but there's always a promised victory for the hard things.
That's right.
And when we look at Jeremiah 29:11, it says, I will give you a hope and a future.
That's right.
Our God, when he talks to us about the future, it is filled with hope.
That's right.
It's never of this like, oh, it's going to be terrible. You know?
Yeah.
Like there will be hard things, but oh my gosh, there's so much hope. And there's promise for victory and provision even in the hard things.
That's right.
Hey moms, welcome back to the Gather Moms podcast. We are so glad that you're here. We are in our Mama Said series, and we just talked about things that moms can say to one another that are helpful, which we're so thankful for. You know, it's been other moms for me that have cheered me on and encouraged me and been such a help.
Yes.
And often it's not even like advice or something they're saying. It's just being around them and hearing what they're going through and how they're navigating it, that kind of just makes me go, oh, okay, this is normal. I'm normal.
Well, I would say like my tendency sometimes is to retreat, you know, when you get in a sticky situation. And so God is so kind that sometimes you like run into somebody in the store and you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But then it's that person that says the thing to you that you needed that was so helpful.
Yeah.
Like God knows that community is what brings healing. So
Yes.
it's like when you try to retreat, I wish there was something in our brains that would say, stop,
Yes.
go find somebody. Because that's where you're going to find that encouragement.
Yeah. Because when we're honest about it, then I don't know, it releases some of the power of it. And you're like, oh, okay, other people are going through this and they're making it.
Yes.
It's going to be fine.
Yes, exactly.
So we talked about things that, you know, moms say that are helpful, but let's be really honest that sometimes moms are the worst. Moms to other moms.
Yes.
And we end up inadvertently, and I would say it is inadvertent.
I
would
agree.
say the vast majority of the time, it's, you know, accidentally we said something that hurt another mom that we didn't mean to.
Right. And sometimes we don't even know.
And we're just clueless,
Yeah.
you know, because our heart is to be helpful, or we're just sharing our own story or something.
Or honestly, we're in a place of hurt. And so what comes out is like self-preservation.
Yes.
You know, we don't even know we're doing it, but it's like we're trying to make ourselves feel better.
Yes. And typically, I think this is accurate. I think it's either you get the most hurt by not the mom in the exact same spot as you.
Yeah.
Because she gets it.
Right.
It's either a mom who hasn't been through what you've been through yet.
Agree.
And so she says something that is like, okay, that was not helpful.
You have no idea.
Yes. Or a mom that's already been through it and she's been ahead of you.
Yeah.
And so she's giving advice through the lens of what she's experienced. And so usually the mom behind is giving advice like, oh, you're going to be fine. Right?
But am I?
Yeah, okay. It's gonna be fine, you know, or I would never do that. Okay. All right. So she's saying things because she hasn't experienced it yet. The mom ahead is giving advice from what she's been through. And so it's like, oh, well, this is what I did and it worked. So you have to do this.
Right. Makes it sound easy almost.
Yes. And so we kind of get in these situations that are just not great.
Right.
So before we get into talking about those things, I think it's helpful for us just when you are getting that feedback from another mom, if we could just fill in the gap with trust and just remember that like their heart toward us is not to cause pain or damage.
Yes. Yes.
they're really, their heart as a mom, like our primary motivator is to be helpful. Like that's what moms are.
Yes.
We want to help. We want to alleviate pain. And so, you know, it's so easy for us. There were things that people said to me early on and it stuck with me for a long time. And now I've had years and years to let those things go. And I wish I would just let it go easier. You know, and just been like, okay, well, Kate, she didn't mean anything by that, you know?
And I'm on the other hand, because I can't remember any of those things that people said to me.
I know.
But I remember what I've said to other people.
Okay.
So that's where I am like carrying around like,
Beat yourself up.
dang it, why did I say that?
Well, I know. And we're going to talk about some of these things. But, you know, one of the hard things is like, I think I'm going to talk about some of these things. And I think I get nervous on the other end of this conversation. Somebody's looking and be like, well, you said that to me. You know, and I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't even remember.
Please text us. We would like to know. Would you comment below? Just kidding. Let's just air it out, Kate. Let's just get it out and over with. We can move on. It's great.
Yeah, great. But let's put them all out there. We're going to get to the one where I want us to camp out on, which is the phrase, just wait. But before we get to that, I want to talk to you about some that I've heard moms say, other moms have said to them that were not helpful. I do have to say, one of the things that was said to me that was not helpful early on was I showed up with my newborn to see some extended family, and I had on like a loose dress, and somebody in my family rubbed my belly and said, "Have you lost the baby weight?" And I'm telling you, I'm
sorry, are you touching personal space?
8 weeks out.
Better back it on up. What? That is the no-fly zone?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So just so you know,
do not.
Is super obvious.
The only thing you say after a woman has a baby is, "You look amazing."
You look amazing.
You look amazing.
You are glowing. You are killing it. You look great. I can't believe you're out of the house.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. So we were just with a friend who she was telling us about, this one's kind of dark, but she was telling us about how they had a miscarriage. And she said that someone said to her, "You're still young. You'll get pregnant again." I mean, like, I get the heart behind that, because you're trying to give them hope of like, this isn't the end of your story or whatever. Okay, friend.
Yes. Well, and honestly, I would say for someone that hasn't had a miscarriage, you have a total like perspective change once you've been in that position. Yeah. Because you just see things through a different lens. Yeah. So hopefully they had never experienced that, so they didn't know the lens through which, bless her heart, she's still walking grief. Like, we can't jump out of that.
Right. Yeah. And just because even if you do get pregnant again and have another child, you've still lost an entire child.
You will always remember that child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You look tired.
God, I think I might say that a lot to people. I'm sorry. You look tired. What can I do to help? I almost like it when people say that to me, because I want to go, "I am. Thank you for noticing."
Yeah, I would just not say it.
You look so refreshed.
Because I think it means to the person receiving it is you're failing in some way. Because
I didn't take it that way.
Because, you're... Yeah.
Doing too much.
Or
not good enough.
Yeah, or life is getting
organized.
you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You look tired. It's just not great. I just think we just need to
What about you look overwhelmed? Is that the same?
No, absolutely not. Do not say that. Never. Do not say it. No.
Okay.
No.
Those are out. Got it.
Any other ones you're thinking you need to test out?
No, like sometimes I'll be like, "It's not that bad."
Yeah, that's not great. Okay, but that comes from, for you, that's your perspective on life. That is kind of how you just generally approach life. It's like,
it could be worse.
Yeah, you kind of have a like this little Pollyanna, idea about how life is anyway.
I think some of it, though, as moms, it's like what we say in our house to our kids. Like when I look at my kids and I'm like, "Listen, it is not that bad."
Yeah.
Or life's not fair. Uh-huh. And so maybe sometimes we're taking our like gumption mom out of the house to the friend mom. Yeah. And we don't need to do that.
Well, I can just say confidently, you've never said to me it's not that bad, because I think I would have punched you in the face. Like, it 100% is that bad.
I cannot believe you just said that to me. You're so rude. Taking that off the table.
And then the obvious one of like just not saying, "Oh, I would never do that." And sometimes it's like, I think we do it a lot around like birthing choices. Uh-huh. And you really put your foot in your mouth when you're like, "Oh, I would never have a water birth. That's disgusting." And this other mom sitting at the table is like, "Well, that's what I did." And it's great. I think it's great when she just like lays out. She's like, "Well, I did." And you're just kind of like,
Reel it back in.
Yeah. And then you're just, you are backpedaling fast. You're like, "Oh, well, I'm sure it was great for you."
Did you have a pool in your bedroom? That's amazing. I saw this video the other day. Okay. Yeah. You just start rambling is what you're doing. Come on.
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how many times I have done just something so ignorant like that where I'm like, "Ooh, I would never."
That's the thing. We're ignorant sometimes. We just put our foot in our mouth because we're like, you didn't even have to talk then. Like, you didn't even have to say words. but you felt the need to say something, and now you're standing in the pit.
Oh, it just makes me think of, there's a neighbor on our street, and I said, listen, I'm such an idiot. I said something about, I was complaining about, oh my gosh, I don't know why I did this. I was complaining about on the weekends we have a lot of cars on our street, and for me at the time when I had little kids, it just makes it tricky because you're trying to watch them.
Right.
And so if there's cars parked on the street, it's hard to see. And I was standing with a group of neighbors and I was like, yeah, well, all these kids that won't launch out of their house because otherwise we could get rid of some of these cars. And one of my neighbors standing there had a kid that had not launched. This 23-year-old daughter is still living with her. And she goes, I know, I've got one of those. And thankfully she was gracious to me, but like I still remember that because I was like, Kate.
Yes.
You big ding dong, just don't say these things.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, I circled back with her later and I was like, listen, I'm really sorry. And she was like, you are good. But I did feel bad about it.
Listen, you circled back. Like, that's the win. The win is when you recognize and you go back and say, look, I don't know if this hurt your feelings or not, but I just want to say sorry if it did.
Yeah.
That goes so far in mom friendships to go, man, thank you for saying that. That was really nice.
I think the other thing that we do that's not helpful as moms is comparing our children at that stage.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're like, oh, well, I don't know who did, but I know people do this, but they're like, well, we did this and that, and my baby was sleeping through the night at 3 months, and to the mom who's like, you've just told she looks tired, she's like, get away from me.
I mean, and listen, I want to say to you people, I feel like that's the Holy Spirit making your baby sleep. I do not think it's your little scheduling. I think they come out like sleepers or not. And so you got a sleeper, good for you.
Ma'am, because I can tell you.
I did not.
We ran the same play. Right. First kid, that's second right. kid, first kid,
no, y'all,
sleep. Second kid, no sleep.
There's so much God doing in there that you're like, you cannot take credit for that. You better stop right now.
Yeah.
No.
I think we get real crazy too around like food. Mm-hmm. And vaccines.
That was me because I had friends that had kids that wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And I do remember saying stuff like, well, I just put it out there. If they want it, great. If they don't.
Yeah.
And bless this mom that's like, my child has not eaten all day long.
Yeah.
I'm not going to not give them food to
sure.
eat. But I remember being that young mom going, I don't know what's wrong. Like, here's what we're eating and they eat it. You know? That is not compassionate or kind at all. Nope, sure not.
No, because we don't know. Yeah, what they're up against, to your point.
Right. Right.
Thankfully, you do have good eaters.
Yeah, but we also didn't have allergies. Like, there's so many other factors around that. You're like, you cannot diagnose someone's kid.
That's true.
In a conversation at dinner. So stop trying to.
And we just also need to be careful to not say, oh, I would never. Because you would never until you do.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. I would never let my kid watch an iPad at a restaurant. Okay, until you do.
That's right.
Until you have not been on a date night in 3 months and you can't get a babysitter or you can't afford one and you're just trying to get some time with your husband, and the way that y'all are going to do that is bring that kid and let him watch a show.
That's right.
Go on ahead. Like, I don't know. And
you know what I did? I judged when I was a young mom. Okay, it's coming back to me now. Listen, this is going to throw you for a loop.
Bring it.
You people that lock doors at night for your kids.
What do you mean? Oh, what? Locked them in their rooms?
You locked them in their rooms.
Why did you judge
I was mortified.
Why?
Because I thought if there's a fire or my brain went nuts and I was like, I cannot believe you lock your child in your room. I would never. I said that. I probably didn't say that out loud to you. I would never do that.
Really?
And now I'm like, oh, I see the genius in that, man. They can't get out the room. You can sleep till 8. I love it.
Well, yeah, because I thought it was more dangerous to let them be able to roam free. I'm thinking they can get to the knives and start a fire.
And see, freewheeling mom over here, but I'm not thinking about knives. I'm like, I bet they're fine. They're probably just hanging out on the couch,
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember that. Yes.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, good. No, I mean, I guess what this is bringing up for me, as we talk this through, is you're seeing it through your lens.
Yes.
Whatever your perspective is how you're engaging with how this other mom is making the choices she's making, etc. And we all are in very different circumstances, dealing with different children at different times, with different dynamics in our home. It's bananas for us to think that I know the solution for you.
Right.
and I have the advice for you, and you should only do it this way. Like,
Right.
we have got to get out of that mindset.
Yep.
You know, and just stop saying foolish things to one another. And instead, you know, like I guess I said from the beginning, number one, fill the gap with trust, not only in what is being said to you, but then in what you're saying to another.
Agreed.
Like, let's just be a little slower to say things.
Do you remember at our podcast live where my mom was like, before you go through, when your light turns green, you should count to 3 before you drive through.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do that. When somebody says something to you, you should count to 3 in your mind before you choose to respond.
Yes.
And be like, let me think this through first. 1, 2. Yep, not going to say that. All right, let's go on.
Yeah. I think the biggest one here is just we have got to stop giving unsolicited advice.
Yep.
We've got to stop. And I know that's an area where I can personally work on, is because I just hear a mom saying, you know, like she's going through something with her kids or whatever. And, you know, I've been around the block for a second. And I work with moms. And so she's telling me this and I'm like, okay,
I can help. Here we go.
I've got options for you.
Yep.
But if she does not say to me, do you have any ideas? Do you have any feedback? What do you recommend?
Maybe she's just getting it off her chest.
She's just getting it off her chest, and I've got to keep my mouth shut.
Yep. That's good.
I think depending on the relationship, you can say to the person, do you just want to vent, or do you want to help? Do you want me to brainstorm this with you?
That's great.
You can do that. Just make sure. I think some people can say that in a condescending way. So I think you can say it like, do you want to just vent, or do you want me to tell you what I think? Because to me, when you say it that way, that means you think you have the answer.
When you said it just then, I was like, oh, that did kind of sound that way.
Yeah. And so,
Yes.
But I think it's okay to say, hey, I'm happy to hear you vent on this. Girl, I'm in with you.
Right.
And if you need me to, like, if we're going to get somebody in the night, you need me to do that? I got that. Do you want to brainstorm about this and come up with solutions? I'm in for that, ma'am. So you just tell me what you need from me in this moment.
Yeah.
And let her tell you.
Yeah.
And if she just needs to vent, just go. And if she's mad at somebody, be mad with her. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And just like get down in there with it.
Yes.
With her, and she'll figure it out. She just needs a safe place to land.
And honestly, half the time that you start talking about your problems, you actually come to your own realizations.
You do.
You just needed to get it out into the open.
Yeah, you do. So let's talk about this one that I really want to sit down on, because I really do hear moms say this a lot. And I think it's detrimental to kind of our mom community and what we're trying to build among other moms. And it's this phrase, just wait. And I hear moms say this. And so a newborn mom, let's say, is struggling with her baby not sleeping through the night. And she's venting to a toddler mom. And the toddler mom says, just wait. Just wait until they start throwing tantrums. Like, you think it's hard not sleeping through the night, just wait till you can't even make them a piece of toast right, or they're throwing it in your face, right?
Yes.
Or let's say the toddler mom whose little one is throwing tantrums, and she shares with a middle school mom, and the middle school mom says, oh, just wait. You have never seen a tantrum like a tantrum from a middle school girl, At least your toddler can't slam doors. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And text you mean things or whatever.
Yep.
Or a teenage mom talking to a mom of launched kids who is grieving that she doesn't get as much time with her teenagers. Because that's a very real thing.
It is, yes.
And the mom of adult kids says, oh, just wait until you have to beg them to be able to come over to their house. You know what I mean?
Sad.
But it's just this, and we do it. We just are like, oh, just wait.
It's like we're trying to one-up each other.
It's just not a good look. And it's unhealthy for a few reasons. Number one, whatever difficulty you're enduring feels like the hardest.
It is. And for you in that moment, it is. Because you're not any farther than that moment.
You don't have any other frame of reference.
Right.
And I think, too, we don't remember past trials accurately.
We don't.
You remember what you want to remember, and it's often with a little bit of a rose-colored glasses in some piece of it.
Right.
That's how we, as humans, survive and adapt. If every pain we go through stung as much as it did in the moment, we would not be able to live.
No, I think that's part of God's grace to us.
Yes.
That's why they say you have another kid, because you forget labor with the first.
Exactly. And you're able to grow and go. And so there's the pain that you're going through in that moment is as difficult as it can be. And we don't need to diminish that in other people. Two, I think it's unhealthy because we're storing up trouble for someone else and we're leaving out the good stuff. Like toddler tantrums are hard for sure, but they are sleeping through the night as a toddler.
That's right.
And they're not eating every 2 to 3 hours.
That's right.
Like a newborn. They smile and talk and hug. Like there are so many great things about having a toddler that, is different than the newborn stage. There's so many great things about the newborn stage.
Right.
They're so sweet and they smell so good and they're cuddly and they...
You said you didn't like the newborn stage.
Well, I do now because I'm 8 years out. 8 years
You're like,
out.
I would do that for a day. I would do that for a day.
They smell so good and they sleep a lot and and they make little noises and you know what I mean?
Yep.
There's just this, there's so much amazing about the newborn stage. But yeah, it's hard because they eat every 2 to 3 hours and they're not sleeping through the night and their tummies are constantly in an uproar trying to figure out, what is this new stuff that you're putting in me? And
Yep.
Yes. But when we talk about toddler tantrums, yeah, they're hard, but toddlers are so fun. They're so fun. You watch them take in the world around them with all this awe, I got to interact with a little toddler yesterday and she saw a flag and she waves at the flag because her parents taught her that flags wave because flags wave in the wind.
Yes.
So she waves at flags. So it was so cute because I was like, I saw her waving at the flag and her mom laughed and she goes, she waves at flags because flags wave. And I was like, that's adorable.
That's their little brain, like starting to process information.
Yes.
And like just do what they think they're supposed to do.
And they have all this wonder and they toddle around. And you can put little cute clothes on them and they eat food and they sleep more. There's so much wonderful about having a toddler.
Right.
But when we say dumb things like, oh, just wait. Just wait until that little baby starts throwing tantrums. Okay, well, you're putting all the trouble in, and there's no space for all the good stuff that comes with that stage. Right. And I think the other reason that it's unhealthy is it's not helpful for a person already feeling overwhelmed. They don't need to have a future placed in front of them with more trouble.
Exactly. That's what I feel like. It taints what's to come. It's like, before you even get there, let me just tell you all the stupid stuff that's going to happen to you.
Yes.
Like, no.
I remember when I went from 1 to 2 kids. So at the time, you and I were both serving in girls ministry together, and you already had 2 kids. And that's been one of the cool things for me about our friendship is you've always been a step ahead.
Yeah.
So I get to watch you do everything and kind of go, okay, that's what that's going to look like. All right, I got it, But because like when we first met, you had one little, maybe he was 2 years old or something.
Yeah. And yours was
and
just
I was
born.
a newborn. Yeah. So anyway, so you've kind of stair-stepped ahead of me, and so I've gotten to watch. And so you already had 2 kids. We were serving in girls ministry together, and then I had my second child. And I remember meeting you at Starbucks, and I had Lydia in the carrier with me, and we met for coffee. And I was like, this is so hard. Why didn't you tell me? And you just smiled, and you were like, I couldn't tell you. Like, I didn't want to put that in front of you. Like, I just knew that when you got to the point and it was really hard, I would just be there for you. And that was really helpful for me. That kind of makes me want to cry because it was like, you knew it was going to come. You knew it was going to be hard to add that second kid, but you didn't store up trouble for me. It was just like, you were like, okay, I'm just going to be there for her when this gets tough.
I'm sorry to all the other moms that I didn't do that for.
Well,
you were the chosen one.
But
the best.
And then that was the time too where I came to you and you were the girls' minister at the church and I was working with you and I had to say, I've got to step back. And you were like, absolutely, step back.
Yeah.
There was no guilt about it. There was no shame. It was like, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Take this off your plate.
Yes.
It's going to be fine.
Yes.
And, so that was just very helpful for me. I think if a mom is having a hard time, if she's complaining about toddler tantrums, they're not sleeping through the night, or teenagers that are mean, or, middle schoolers that are rude or whatever, just say, I'm so sorry. That's hard.
Yes. That's what you should say every time. I completely agree. Yes.
Like, it's not complicated.
Nope.
It's just, I'm so sorry. That's really hard.
Yes.
Period. The end. If she doesn't ask for advice, don't give it. Y'all, we are already overwhelmed with advice. We are overwhelmed with advice.
It really is crazy to me to think that people raised kids 50 years ago without all this.
I
did not have any.
I was at our little coffee shop that we like the other day, and I was working, and these precious two moms were meeting. And one of the moms had a newborn. The other one had a toddler who was, toddling around the coffee shop and was pregnant with her second. And the mom holding the newborn, I heard her say, she said, I just, there's so much to navigate, and there's so much advice, and I don't know what's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Because we're living in the time of the Googler mom.
Right.
Where, something happens where they're having spit up, or they're not sleeping, or and so we start Googling.
Yep.
And then we just get overwhelmed, or we're following influencer moms on Instagram who are giving advice, or whatever it is, or we're in Facebook groups, and we're just, there's so much noise. There is so much noise. And so if she doesn't ask, just keep your mouth shut. I would love for us to turn this phrase, just wait, into something positive.
Let's do it.
And use it to help store up hope for moms. Because I really do think motherhood, it just keeps getting better.
It does. I agree.
And, so keep going. It's going to be amazing when you hear them say mama for the first time and take their first steps. It's incredible to see them walk into kindergarten. Like, you can hardly believe it, that this baby you brought home from the hospital is now, has a backpack on that's as big as them. And they're just walking into a kindergarten room, like, with so much confidence. It's so incredible to see them ride a bike for the first time, and to see them become independent. They walk a little taller, and they throw their shoulders back. There's just so many wonderful things ahead in motherhood.
Yep.
That's what we should be saying, just wait about. Just wait. Just wait until you get to have middle schoolers that you can watch movies with that you actually like. And you can play games with that are actually fun for you. It's not like, I don't know. Well, we love Zingo. But, little like toddler games where you're just like appeasing them.
Headbands. Isn't it headbands?
Headbands, ma'am.
Yes.
But that you get to a point where you can like play games where you're like in it.
Yes.
And you're giving your full effort to try and beat them and whatever you're playing. Or that you get to have teenagers who are helpful, and that you can go on vacation with and everybody chills. Because everybody's like doing their thing, I look forward to the day when my kids have spouses and we get to add fun people to the family. And I cannot wait to be a grandma. I talk to my kids now even about being a grandma. I'm like, guys, when we get to that place, just know, you tell me what you need. You want me to sweep? You want me to do laundry? Can I make some meals? You want me to stay in a hotel and take the baby? You tell me. Whatever you want.
I will gladly take your child away from me for 24 hours to a hotel.
I mean, whatever you want, it will be my absolute joy to do it. It'll be my absolute joy. And so talking about the future in a way that's like, yes.
Positive spin, yes.
Because here's the thing. When we look at the Bible, that's how God talks about the future. Now, he does not sugarcoat it. It is very clear in Scripture that, yes, there will be hard things, but there's always a promised victory for the hard things.
That's right.
And when we look at Jeremiah 29:11, it says, I will give you a hope and a future.
That's right.
Our God, when he talks to us about the future, it is filled with hope.
That's right.
It's never of this like, oh, it's going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Like there will be hard things, but oh my gosh, there's so much hope, and there's promise for victory and provision even in the hard things.
That's right.
And so in the same way that our God talks to us about the future, that's how we want to talk to other moms. We want to be encouraging. We want to be life-giving. We want them to see how good it is. And that doesn't mean that we're not realistic, because things are hard, but we can talk in a way that's hopeful. And I think it's cool for us, when you do move to the next stage, I think it's helpful for us to make sure that we're sharing the good things.
Of course, because we can sometimes focus on the negative.
Yeah.
And even for ourselves, it's almost like a positive reinforcement for us when I highlight the positive in my kids. Not only does it help the other mom, but also reminds me why this new phase is so great.
Yeah, because I think I remember having toddlers and there was all this fear around having teenagers. There was just a lot of like, it's going to be terrible. They're going to hate you. I mean, I really think, honestly, Becca, those were the messages I heard about having teenagers. And then I finally saw a mom post on Facebook and she was like, don't believe the lies. Having teenagers is the best thing ever. And it was like a picture of her family like playing games together. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I think when my first child entered teenagerhood, I felt like I was still kind of holding my breath of like, when's he going to hate me?
Right.
When is this going to go sideways? When are things going to be, where we don't get along? He thinks I'm the scum of the earth. And it just never happened.
Never say never.
Well, I mean, it hasn't happened. And if it did, it would there have been times where I'm not his favorite and I definitely make him cringe.
But honestly, it's kind of fun as a parent to be like, I still hold the power. Okay. I mean,
yes.
Even those hard things end up being the memories that you talk about at Thanksgiving one day. It's like, those are the things that you want to laugh about one day.
Yeah, and I have this kid who he knows I'm tired and he's like, hey, how about I swing through Dutch Bros and get you something? And I'm like, oh, you sugar.
So using your credit card?
No, he makes his own money. So,
I'm going to send this home to my children and be like, other people use their own money, just in case you're wondering.
But I needed his help last week to go pick up the middle child from school. And he goes, okay, would it be helpful if I went and got her something to eat too? Because she had to go then to like play practice. I'm like, absolutely, it would be helpful. Yes, thank you.
That's great.
So I just think for me, there is hope and future. Like motherhood keeps getting better.
I agree.
And so that's the way that we need to be talking to other moms about motherhood is it keeps getting better.
Yes.
And so let's say, just wait. It's going to even be better than this. And that's the way that we use just wait.
I love that. I'm in. I'll do it.
We love you, moms. Just wait. We're going to have an episode next week. See you next time.
Bye-bye.